there, and welcome back to the Smell of Logic channel. I am Ramona. In today's Reddit story, we are going to be talking about fae and fairies and wee folk, little folk, whatever you want to call them. So let's just get right into this, shall we? Story 1. Well, I've had encounters with fairies. They don't seem to be benevolent, except when putting on an act to get what they want. I believe that their ancestors were once humans who changed themselves into fairies. It's just another lost arcane technique. Good riddance. I was researching fairies and discovered some bizarre findings, after which fairies started harassing me. It took a while for me to get rid of them, and they haven't bothered me since. They probably learned their lesson. Fairies are like intelligent poltergeists in form. If you want to get a general idea of fairies, I suggest that you find a hawthorn plant and study it. Hawthorns are extremely beautiful, yet they give off a subtle scent like rotting human flesh. There's actually a book with some minor secrets of the fairy realm, which is actually a big deal. Most people don't know of it. It's called The Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fairies, and Fauns. The author of the book himself is reported to have been kidnapped by fairies or for revealing their secrets. My advice to you is just to read about fairies casually and don't get too much into it. Especially don't call on any fairies, even mentally. When I was harassed by fairies, I was pretty far away from any forests. There are magicians who claim that you can call upon fairies wherever you are in the world, and they will come so long as you are someone who loves the environment and intends on it, what you perceive, to be mutually beneficial. They won't reveal themselves at first. It takes a while for them to manifest. There's actually a famous story from Britain of some kids who were merely witnessing a group of fairies playing, and one of the fairies struck the boys with some sort of branch. One of them died while the other was knocked unconscious. Also, there seems to be various species of fairies in different parts of the world. We have the usual Celtic ones of Britain and Ireland, and then we have Orang Bonaine in the areas around Java, and we also have Encantos in the Philippines. While I do know quite a bit about fae, it's not my expertise. What I do know is, like most occult entities, they do not like to be seen. I liken it to how if a person stares continuously at a ghost without any emotional reaction, such as fear, the ghost will start to wither and finally disappear. Just be aware of them, and they'll not be able to hold their form. The weakness of werewolves is said to be in their human identity being discovered. I've had experiences with exorcism, and from what I know, most magic, especially bindings, gets weaker once a person realizes that he's been bound. It's 10 times easier to destroy the evil spirits and undo the magic once the victim accepts the truth. Story 2. There's this one picture floating around the internet, and I think you can find it on the top 5 video selection regarding the ocean ships or something. The picture is that of an old shipwreck over in East Asia, where you can see a decaying medkit. Behind the medkit, you can see a frumpy, grumpy-looking face thing. Apparently, it's a type of sea nymph, keeping an eye on the divers to make sure nothing is taken. But the one that's most legit didn't happen to me, but my battle buddy from the army, whom I've grown super close to. They have the ability to see, and told me that growing up in New Hampshire, which is thriving, there are plenty of things that live out in the woods that just aren't plants and animals. They've had more than one encounter with more than one thing, but the 2 things related to fairies could be trees, or would be the trees. One day, my battle buddy would wake up early for dawn or to be outside till twilight, and he would see a woman peeking out from behind the trees. He saw them, since it was more than one, ever so often. He would investigate and find nothing, no tracks, no disturbance of any kind, really. On other occasions, when walking into the woods at a different house of the same state, he had his earphones yanked off his head more than a dozen times. He'd always turn around, and they'd be tangled in the tree branches above him, a full arm's length above him. He tested a few different theories: the wind, squirrels or raccoons, pulling on the branches to see how flexible it was, etc., as to how it happened, but nothing made sense. He asked them nicely to quit or he'd take them down. But they did it a couple more times before grabbing his hatchet to cut it down. His dad was pissed that he cut down the tree. Story 3. In Thailand, there are ancient stories about these little half-plant, half-fairy creatures called Nari Pon or Makali Fon. I hope I pronounced that right. They're only found near a certain type of tree, which is only found in the deep jungle. Ignore the obvious fake videos and pictures that have been posted online, and find the old word-of-mouth accounts someone has finally documented. It's interesting that other fairy folk developed independently on the other side of the world. Story 4. I don't know if I've seen fairies, but I've seen the following things in the last year or two. A yellow flash in the kitchen with no obvious cause. Then, a couple of days later, a white flash, like a camera flash, outside at night. Again with no source, just in the air about 30 feet away. Then I wake up in the middle of the night, look to my side, and see something I never believed in. A leprechaun. Well, that would be my best guess as to what it was. Dressed in Eastern European peasant clothing with a black hat, I could see it clearly, and it was leaning on a box, sleeping. Just looked like a miniature middle-aged man. Squelched my eyes shut several times, and it was still there. Then it turned into a pile of clothes. So I'm putting that down to an interesting hallucination. Sometimes I leave my curtains open at night so the sun will wake me up rather than the alarm clock. One morning I woke up and I glimpsed something white in the mirror that faces the window. I turned quickly and saw something move out of sight as soon as it knew I had seen it. So I only got a very brief look of whatever it was. It was right up against the outside of my window. It was around 3 feet long, white, and a kind of like a draped type of fabric, partially transparent. Initially, I figured it was a drone, or someone had, for some reason, draped fabric from it. And maybe that's what it actually was. No doubt, there are some F-ups around with drones spying in people's bedrooms. Anyhow, if it was a drone, it didn't make any noise either, so I don't know. What hit me later, though, was that my description fits the stereotypical ghost description. So really, I don't know what I saw. I also have since learned that some people describe banshees like this. I'm pretty sure they aren't good omens. What I do know is that I've never been under so much stress as I have been this last couple of years, and that seeing shit like this is usually not good. Also, I do live in Ireland. Story 5. Can't say that I have definitely seen a fairy, but had the oddest experience a few days ago. Had stopped at a red light on an intersection when I noticed what I thought was a white feather moving along the road surface. It struck me as strange that this feather was upright, had a slight curve, or maybe 4 or 5 centimeters tall, and was traveling in a straight line. It didn't flutter like a feather in the wind would. The curve was almost to the front. Traveling across 2 lanes, and on the third lane, fast-moving cars passed by, and I expected it to react to the turbulence, but it continued straight. When it got to the edge of the lane, another almost identical feather passed it, going in the opposite direction. Both were in contact with the road, about 15 to 20 centimeters apart, going in opposite directions, before the first one shot into the air, did 2 loops, and the loops as I watched, before flying out of sight. All I could think was that I had seen 2 fairy folk, but I have no proof. Story 6. One day, just a few months ago, I saw a very large bug zip in front of my car real quick when I was waiting at a stoplight. The thing had to have been close to a foot long. I only caught a glimpse, but it looked like a praying mantis with a really fat abdomen and was light green with pink wings. I live in Northeast by Lake Erie, and I've never seen anything that big flying around here. I literally thought to myself, WTF was that? A fairy? Probably not, but it's still fun to think about. Story 7. When I was a kid in the 90s in the Deep South, I was walking at dusk with my stepsister down a dead-end road deep in the country. We noticed an orb in the sky and had never seen anything like it. We weren't scared, but very curious. We pointed at it, and then the vibe changed. It noticed us, noticing it, and it started jumping crazy fast around the sky, and then toward us, and then away. It was screaming at us with no words. We just got such a bad vibe and got out of there. Some are nice and some are not. It's difficult to discern their appearance since they can shapeshift. They also invoke fear as a test, it would seem, because after I overcame my fear, things changed. Story 8. I saw a gnome in my neighbor's bush. It was nothing like a lawn gnome. It was naked, olive-skinned, with large buggy eyes like Steve Buscemi, and had thin, middle-length hair that was very messy. It was maybe 1 foot tall at most, standing in a bush in my neighbor's yard, just beyond the fence. It was chain link. My dog smelled it. It did the Homer Simpson disappear into the bush meme, and that was it. It could all be a figment of my imagination, or something weird that really happened. I just don't know. Story 9. We have small folk in our home. I don't see them, but they are very good at finding things, so long as they return what's borrowed when asked and follow a few other ground rules. They're pretty cooperative. Just today, my little one lost their last binky right at my feet, and it rolled a little under the chair. When I went to grab it, it was gone, so I told them to give it back so the kiddo doesn't scream. It appeared next to another chair behind me, about 5 feet away. My partner couldn't find the others all day either, and when I went to the kitchen, one was blatantly on the island in plain view, and the other was just under the ledge again, and had a fairly good view. So they returned the ones we have, and I thanked them for their assistance. They don't like it when the kiddo screams. Story 10. I will say this. I never believed in these. I don't know if I do or not. All I know is shit winds up missing a lot, and it's always the keys, which we hang up, or a remote, which is usually on the table or couch. I used to just figure it was my ADHD. Then I started joking it was a jokester of a ghost. My wife and I watched something about fairies or whatever they are, and we just stared at each other and were like, well, alrighty. MF fairies are taking our shit and hiding them. There are times, before this video, I would yell out, okay, you're funny, ghost, or whatever. Now give me back my shit. I'll leave the room and come back, and no joke, I will always find it there when I sit down and say F it after I say that. And it's always in a spot I just looked. It will literally be right beside us. There are times we turned the couch all upside down and couldn't find it. Look in the freezer, pants pocket, bathrooms, you name it. It's always things like the remote or my wife's vape. It's so effing random. It's things we don't walk out of the room with but use often. It's never something like a toothpick or, I don't know, anything smaller or more random. I just tell my wife, now it's okay, just relax. They're bored. Just ask nicely for it back. We find it, I say thank you, and that's it. I know it's crazy as F, but anyway. I'm not nice, so we don't find it till the next day. Could be goblins or aliens as far as I know, or a pocket dimension that just opens up. But my gut says random little weird fairy things. Whatever that is. I'm just a dude in Texas that is open-minded, but just wants to be left the F alone. But if it's fairies, they are entertaining, and I kind of like them, even if they are a nuisance. So there you go, some interesting personal encounters with some fairies, some wee folks, some gnomes, some things they don't know about. But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. There's others like this on the channel. Please feel free to go watch a couple more. If you liked this one, please leave a like or maybe a comment on any of the videos. I would appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel and go watch some more videos. Until next time, thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.